what's a sucker to me? A sucker is a nigga who pick who he be fight with.
Right.
Like if you sit and you go, I'm not going because this.
I won't go him, but I'll fight with this one.
Yeah, I think I can take him.
Right.
You want to fight the nigga you think you can beat.
Curtis, 50, Jackson. Now, this is somebody who is a philanthropist, rapper, artist, business person, you name it. Used to live in another city up north, but found his way down south. This is one person who is now a Houstonian. I want to thank him.
We don't capitalize and try to glorify this shit. Now, we gonna sit and have conversations about niggas as strong as us.
Jas Prince might not be so high and mighty after all. The record executive might have thought he was with how much he was flexing. He probably thought nothing of 50 Cent. But the rapper was no chump change when it came to handling Jas Prince. If the cocky Jas Prince wanted to go to war, then 50 Cent came armed with an atomic bomb. The exposure of Jay having connections to a shooting has turned up the heat on this beef. But how did it get to this point? Let's back up and get some context. Jas Prince is far more than just a typical record executive running his mouth. You don't get that cocky without there being some weight behind your title. As the co-founder of Rap-A-Lot Records, he's been in the rap game since the 1980s. His domain has been Houston, and his name commands so authority, he might as well be a king. Every rap artist in the area pretty much has to kneel to have a post in his kingdom. The problem is that 50 Cent isn't like most rappers. He's not into being knighted by a boss like Jas Prince. Rather than take a seat at the record executive's round table, 50 Cent runs solo. He'd rather do his own thing than submit to the game of rapper politics. He's also never been intimidated by top talent. After all, he's taken on such rap titans as Ja Rule and Murder Inc. While some rappers might see Jas Prince as a threat, he only saw another punk in 50 Cent's way. Jay might have experience in the rap game, but so does 50. G-Unit Records was founded by 50 Cent in 2003. He has his company less like a business and more like a movement. 50 Cent didn't play by the rules, he made them. He wasn't interested in aspects of paying for protection or demonstrating loyalty. So the prospect of 50 Cent moving to Houston was huge. That's like a king moving into another king's territory. 50 Cent's move to Houston wasn't just to become a resident, it was also a strategic decision. When he rolled into town, he made his name known. With his G-Unit camp program, the man quickly became a pillar of the community. His presence brought great excitement to the residents. Just having 50 Cent in the neighborhood would be amazing on its own, but having him make an impact on the community is next level amazing.
I just want to say it's an honor to be here today. I'm really excited about being in Houston. Since I've made my way out here, the Houstonians have embraced me with open arms, and it just feels like a great place for me to expand G-Unity as a foundation and continue to work with programs like HISD and Mid-Turn on all the different efforts that I can get involved in. You know, and it's exciting for me like to make the next level.
However, for someone like Jas Prince, 50 Cent was a threat. Despite his title, Jas Prince wasn't willing to be seen as anything less than a king. There was a war brewing between these two legends of rap. When the feud first started, it wasn't that big. 50 Cent mostly stuck to trolling his competition. He was a power player, and he knew it. Why should he be afraid of somebody like Jas Prince? They didn't so much clash on the battlefield as they did shoot arrows from their towers. They didn't step on each other's turf or toes with much force. The shots grew closer, however, as the fight intensified. 50 Cent made it clear that Houston was going to be his domain. He posted on Twitter how he loved New York, but that Houston was his home. This wasn't just a matter of preference for the Texan heat. The economic climate for 50 Cent in New York was chilly. The heavy taxes made the 50s empire hard to manage. New York was also a tougher place to make it if you were a rapper trying to gain influence. But Houston was fertile territory. With better taxes and a growing rap scene, 50 packed up and set out to build his new empire. So, of course, Jay saw this as an attempt to snatch away his power. Prince was used to rappers checking in with him if they ever wanted to make a move. 50 Cent didn't do that. He went where he pleased and made his own moves. These were big moves too. 50 wasn't just going to set up shop, but support the city in a big way. Although 50 Cent thought little of his interactions with Jas Prince, the battle lines were drawn. Not checking in Jay when moving to town is the ultimate offense in his eyes. So, with 50 Cent showing up unannounced, that's the ultimate disrespect. With the rap prince's authority threatened, the Houston executive turned up the heat on his competition. Dispatching his cohorts, Jay hired some goons to put the pressure on 50 Cent. They leaned on him to pay Jay's street tax for protection. If this were any other rapper, they might have buckled under these mob tactics. But, remember, this is 50 Cent. He wasn't going to back down when confronted with the egotistical Jay. As his film made clear, he was going to get rich or die trying. But if Jay were smart, he'd know how 50 Cent rolls. Why would he need protection? He has his own crew with G-Unit. It's not like the rapper strolled in like a stranger. 50 knew how to play the game and that you bring muscle when trying to assert your dominance. He wasn't afraid to mosey into a town that might not be big enough for the two of them. It was the ultimate disrespect to assume 50 didn't know what he was getting into. The fact that Jay sent muscle to a man who already has protection was an insult. It's as though Jay only saw the rapper as an out-of-towner who could be easily bullied into paying up. Well, it didn't work. And since checking in wasn't happening, that's when the threat started becoming more vocal. Jas Prince tried to make it clear to 50 Cent that Houston was a no-fly zone. It was his way of saying, hands off my business. Again, this is a tactic that would have scared off any ordinary rapper. But 50 Cent was proving he wasn't a pushover. He knows how to play the game. But, apparently, Jas Prince didn't. He was still treating 50 as though the man didn't have any experience with being a rap icon and businessman. So, 50 Cent took the fight to where most feuds end up, social media. He took to Instagram to do what he does best with his haters. He unleashed an onslaught of memes, captions, and sly jokes to poke at Jas Prince. This wasn't so much an attack as it was a taunt. While Jay was panicking, 50 was laughing. And he had every right to laugh. After all, 50 Cent wasn't just trolling with this social media. He was putting in the work to make his presence in Houston worth having. He was moving in with a $20 million studio for G-Unit's TV and film projects. And he planned to slam that studio straight into Houston, planting the G-Unit flag. Well, that was the plan anyway. And it would have been a great plan. Placing an expensive studio with a big-name rapper in the Texas city would have been incredible. The jobs it would have created and careers launched could have made Houston a more exciting rap scene. But all that didn't happen. Ultimately, 50 Cent pulled out the studio's flag in Houston and relocated it to Shreveport, Louisiana. Trying to maintain his grip on his business, 50 said the reason had to do with infrastructure.
In a news conference after the big ceremony, 50 Cent said his plans in Shreveport go beyond just G-Unit studios.
I got to create the nightlife. I got to get into the real estate in the area to be able to facilitate what happens after big events happen.
When asked about bringing employment to the area, Jackson said it's already started.
You've seen some of the good things that Tyler Perry done in Atlanta, and you'll see this mirror that to a degree.
But it's clear that the unofficial issue was more political than technical. The street heat was rising, and not the typical kind in Texas. With Jay getting more intimidating, 50 knew his studio would become a target. Jas Prince would have made Houston more of a battleground. Fighting on Instagram is one thing. Risking people's jobs and lives was another level of war 50 didn't want to enter. Rather than admit defeat, he moved his studio without making a big deal out of it. The politics became more apparent with how much Houston had embraced 50 Cent. Everybody in Houston was loving the rapper breathing new life into the community. This is especially true for Houston's mayor, Sylvester Turner. He couldn't be happier with 50's arrival and made sure that Houston would be far more than a home for the rapper. In addition to giving 50 the key to the city, Turner declared that November 24th would be 50 Cent Day. Having such an honor announced at a Thanksgiving Day parade is legendary.
To God be the glory, and so I have the privilege of saying, therefore I, Sylvester Turner, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proudly proclaim this day, November 24th, 2022, as Curtis 50 Jackson Day in the City of Houston.
Turner's admiration wasn't just for 50 Cent's music. It's because he knew that 50 was a guy who cared about the community and knew how to run a business. Having someone as astute as 50 in town would only lead to prosperity. His G-Unity Foundation was designed to help youth, and it did just that, giving teenagers a fighting chance for the future. And it didn't stop there. 50 Cent got involved with charities as well, with turkey drives and toy donations. How many toys? How does $850,000 in donations sound? He didn't even make a big social media event out of it. He just did it because he wanted to show that much to his new home. But it doesn't end there. 50 Cent also raised an astounding $500,000 for Houston's children's charity program. He did so by auctioning off 2 massive bottles of his own champagne. Mind you, that's just the money from the auction. The event, which included the auction, raised $6 million for the charity. That's way more than lip service for giving back to the community. With 50 getting involved with these crucial community-building aspects, how could you hate the guy? It's impossible. Well, unless you're a top record executive existing in the same city. It's easy to see why 50 was a threat to Jay's bottom line. A city that is in love with 50 Cent would naturally sour on Jas Prince trying to push out such a figure. The jealousy fumed in this dude, who had been dethroned by an outsider arriving in his backyard. But what really went down between 50 Cent and Jas Prince? We know they definitely didn't see eye to eye, but their feuding didn't seem to be a public brawl. The answers were revealed by G-Unit's top aggressor, Tony Yayo. Everybody wanted to know why G-Unit wasn't willing to play ball with Jay's check-in rule. Tony explained this to us in an interview on Vlad TV. The reason why resides within the G-Unit mindset. See, G-Unit doesn't so much operate like a rap entourage, but a military. They protected each other rather than relying on external forces for protection. If G-Unit played the check-in game, they knew they'd be bowing to Jas Prince's rule, and they didn't roll that way. So when Tony was questioned about this intimidation, he didn't hold anything back. He called the check-in game what it really was: extortion. It was either pay or get robbed. This was a mafia game that 50 Cent didn't want to play, and G-Unit backed him up. How did this check-in game go on for so long? Well, it's because Jas Prince was always seen more as a protector of rappers than an extortionist of artists. It has everything to do with the wording of the practice. You're not paying the mafia for protection against being robbed or assaulted. You're just checking in with the top rap executive of Houston. It sounds less intimidating than it really is. But let's take a cue from Tony and call this all what it is. It's pressure. You're not paying for protection so much as you're paying not to be demolished by the most prominent rap exec in town. This isn't hospitality. It's a scam. Some rappers in the area might have been too scared to say so, but 50 Cent wasn't, and neither was his G-Unit crew. They wanted to make Houston better, not shake down its rappers for money. Because for the longest time, Jas Prince ran the show in Houston. If you were an aspiring rapper living in Houston or had recently moved to the city, you had to check in with Jay. This was just what you did if you wanted to make it in the city. But anybody who has seen a mafia movie knows the score. You're not paying for protection. You're paying your respects to ensure you won't become a target of the supposed protectors. This is a mafia shakedown. Don't want to pay up? Well, you might just get robbed. By who? I don't know. Probably not the people who said you should have paid up, right? 50 Cent was going to fall for any of this, and neither was Tony Yayo. In fact, Tony went so far as to address the unfortunate case of Pop Death. He was a rapper who relied on checking in to protect himself, and he ended up dead anyway. Pop Death was taken for a ride. He checked in, paid his respects, and received no protection. Tony was blunt in pointing out that we can't remain silent on this checking in business. It's extortion, and it's unethical. Those kinds of shady tactics might have gone unquestioned in the 1990s, but it's the 21st century, and the public seems to prefer a community-giving rap executive over a greedy one demanding protection money. Simply put, mafia tactics are no longer popular or invisible. The muscle went so hard at G-Unit that they refused to play this game. Not only were they refusing to pay Jas Prince's toll, but they called it out for being a gross way to control the rap scene. G-Unit wasn't a group to mess with. They asserted themselves and didn't cave to punks like Jas Prince's gang of extortionists. Since G-Unit wasn't going to play nice with Jas Prince's monarchical rule, the rivalry was only going to grow more intense. But it wasn't a simple matter of 50 Cent refusing to play ball. He recognized this tactic as an old one. Moreover, it wasn't something that ultimately benefited the Houston community. 50 Cent knew if he wanted to make it in Houston, he couldn't just be another Jas Prince. He had to be better than that extortionist rapper. While refusing the check-in policy was a good start to standing up to bullies, Tony Yayo took the shedding of old ways to the next level. And it was a game that was about to be exposed. When 50 Cent didn't check in, he became a target. Jas Prince used this opportunity to play the hero by playing up his heroic influence on social media. Remember how 50 Cent didn't make a big deal of some of his charity work? Well, Jas Prince needed the clout and tried to make his heroic act go viral. 50 Cent wasn't going to let Jay have that obvious level of staged PR. He called it out instantly, and he wasn't alone. It also doesn't help that Jay is playing a 20th century game. That level of gangster shakedowns doesn't fly in the 21st century. Everybody could see what Jay was really doing, and they weren't having it. I mean, come on, Jas Prince is in his 60s. He should have grown up since then. But apparently, the old gangster is still stuck in old gangster mode. He never grew up and figured out that extortion ain't the best way to gain public favor. But the man is stuck in his ways. The check-in method didn't end with 50 Cent's defiance. It continued when TakeOff and Quavo didn't dance for Jas Prince's extortion racket. TakeOff's defiance ultimately cost him his life amid the dice game. What did Jas Prince have to say about it? Very little. Well, unless of course you count the mumbling and meandering in conversations to avoid accountability. However, Jas Prince is growing older and becoming less sly with age. He made a big slip-up when he admitted to destroying evidence. The game became even more obvious with Duke the jeweler. Soon after scoring big in a dice game, Duke was robbed and murdered. The street politics was growing hideous and robbing talents of more than just their money. But that's been Jas Prince's whole brand. He's ruled over Houston with his threatening tactics. 50 Cent, however, is the polar opposite. He's a man who came to Houston trying to make it better rather than making a profit. Well, okay, he is making bank, but not with dirty money. He doesn't have to get involved with street warfare to make a buck and make his name known. The contrast is clear between these two power players. 50 Cent wants to build a community and a legacy, while Jas Prince aims to establish a terrifying influence. Jas Prince wants to pretend he's still in a production of The Godfather, but he's not. And it looks like 50 Cent will have to go on the offensive to prove just that. 50 isn't just hanging back slinging memes anymore. He's getting incredibly serious with trying to expose Jas Prince for the scummy con man he really is. Jas Prince's cruel rule has got to go. And the only way to do that is if 50 Cent can blow the roof off his operations in a big way. Rumors are circulating that 50 Cent is trying to gather as much data and evidence as possible for a grand expose. The trolling has ended and the investigation has begun. If Jas Prince is exposed for his criminal levels of shaking down rappers, it won't just mean being shunned by Houston. We're talking Fed-level bad here. We'll have to wait and see where this all goes, but the rivalry is clear as day. Jas Prince is an outdated gangster, while 50 Cent is a rapper trying to build up the Houston community. The only way 50 Cent will fully assert himself as the king who overthrew a prince is if he can expose Jas Prince for the extortionist he is. Tony Yayo already set the wheels in motion, and 50 Cent is going to gather the receipts to make sure Jas Prince's rule comes to a bitter end.